I wanted to talk about our scheduling and how we mix farming and homeschooling at the same time. Most mornings start out, I get up about an hour earlier than my husband most times, just because I need some alone time to read, usually my scriptures. I do the rebound, or I do the oil pulling, anything that, you know, my kids would want to be hanging on me if they were up. That's what I do. My husband gets up at about 6:30. I make his breakfast, I make his lunch, and at that point it's my children's responsibility to be getting the room clean, to be getting dressed, and they're not allowed to eat until they have their room clean and they're dressed and their hair is done, because otherwise they will drag out their cleaning and their hygiene all morning. And so that's the way that I bribe them, I guess. They're always really hungry in the morning, and so it just makes them push themselves rather than me having to push them. Once breakfast is over, usually it's something like raw oatmeal with some homemade yogurt. That's how we make our yogurt. We just stick it on the warming oven. Homemade yogurt and usually stevia in it. I don't give the girls a lot of sugar or even honey. They seem to be hungrier when I do that. So anyway, so we have breakfast, and then we clean up after breakfast. We have prayer with my husband before he goes to work, and he leaves about 7:30. At that point, we've already, a lot of times the girls haven't finished with their chores at that point. So a lot of times by 8 or 8:30, the girls finally have their work done. I don't wait for them to have breakfast. In the mornings, I have yogurt, and because I get up early enough that I'm not hungry yet, but I still need something to keep me functioning, so I have yogurt, and then I have my big breakfast, my real breakfast, after I've done my chores. So it's not that I'm not eating the big breakfast, it's that I just don't eat it before I do my chores, because I don't have the time. I don't want to get dressed up and get out there and be hungry and then have to come back in and be in and out of the house a lot because I got too hungry to finish my chores. And by the time I come in to have my breakfast, that's when we start school. So the girls have had their breakfast. We've washed the dishes. At that point, we do our chores. My 6-year-old does the vacuuming, and my 4-year-old cleans the bathroom. And that's pretty much their chores. They do haul laundry for me, but that's as a punishment for fighting, because they don't like to go downstairs. So I don't like to yell at my kids, so I just use punishments that benefit me because they're inconveniencing me by fighting, so I will inconvenience them by giving them chores that I would ordinarily do if they decide that they want to fight. So at that point, usually by about 10:30, I think it's earlier than that, I think it's about 9, we have started on school. And we do school for however long it takes for us to get it done. I like to reserve my mornings for school. I try not to make appointments for anything. I don't go grocery shopping. I don't do anything in the morning until school is done, because it helps them to see that it's a priority. It's not an option whether or not we do school. We always do it in the morning. And that schedule really helps them stay on track. At 10:30, we have our big breakfast, and it's a big breakfast. It's hash browns, it's eggs. If we've just butchered a pig, it's sausage. We go through, we're pretty normal. We go through certain cuts of our meat really quick, a lot quicker than other things. Like one of the reasons that I buy roast for my husband's lunch is because we go through the roast really fast when we butcher an animal. And so right now, like, we have left is hamburger, and so we need to get better at kind of that balancing act. But anyway, so we have our big breakfast at about 10:30. And if we haven't finished our school yet, we go back to doing school after we've done our lunch dishes. For the rest of the day, and this is our winter schedule. This is not our summer schedule, winter schedule. And then we spend the rest of the day, we listen to a lot of audiobooks. I do knitting, I do spinning, I do laundry. I just kind of keep the house going. And that's when we'll leave the house if we need to leave the house. The girls spend their day, they like to sew, they like to spin, my oldest daughter knows how to crochet, and we just keep the house maintained. And and then at about 4:30 we start dinner. We don't do packaged meals of any kind. Everything is cooked from scratch. So I actually spend a good part of my day cooking and cleaning up after meals. And I don't feel bad about letting my kids do some of the chores because I spend a lot of my time cooking for them. In the summer, the schedule is completely backwards. I get up early in the morning and I get out there to do my chores as fast as I can because it gets hot and the bugs come out, and so I try to get all of my outside work done early in the morning when it's summer. During the spring, I kind of need to be outside all day. I need to just go, 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 and it's kind of the same way in the fall because it's the only time of the year where the temperature is nice enough that it's not a physical strain to be outside. So my kids aren't old enough that we've really had several years to say, yes, this is definitely what we do for our schedule. But the schedule that's worked for us since we started school has been that we're very seasonal. In the summer, I don't do school with the girls until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I've done all my chores in the morning, taking care of my husband and everything, that's all the same. But I do my chores in the morning, try to get them done before I need to take care of him, and then I come in and make breakfast for the girls, and then I go back out. And they're expected to come with me. If there's not a parent in the house, then the girls are not in the house. We struggled a lot with that when we first started homesteading, that I would be desperate to be outside working, and so I'd turn on the television. And it got to the point where all my kids ever talked about was television, because they would be inside for 8 hours while I was outside working because it was too hot or too cold for them. And I kind of had a come to Jesus meeting, you know, on that when I met some other homeschool moms that had been doing it a while. And I was desperate to try and figure out how to make this work better, and they gave a presentation in which they said the most important thing to do in homeschooling is to eliminate the entertainment. You don't want to entertain your children because if they're entertained, they're not bored enough to do their school. So I got rid of our television. We don't have a television. We never had cable, but now we don't have movies, we don't have television at all. There's no entertainment, there's no what's it called, Game Boy. No electronic entertainment for my children. And if the weather's not good enough for my kids to be outside with me, I'm not outside. It had to become my priority that being with my children really was the reason I was doing this. The reason I was homeschooling and farming was to spend time with my family and have a better life. It wasn't to sit my kids in front of a TV and let it babysit them and raise my children with a television, Disney, you know. So we don't have a television. And that was kind of the deciding factor in making us more successful, is that if I'm going to be outside, my kids are going to be with me. If it's too hot for my kids to be outside, then I'm not outside. I'm inside doing something else. So we switched it to, I did my work in the morning. By about 11 o'clock, it's too hot. So at 11 o'clock, I would come inside, I would make lunch, we would eat lunch, and then if my kids were tired from having played outside all day, they would take a little nap. When they woke up, about 2 o'clock, we would do school from about 2 to 4, at which time I would start dinner. And that was our schedule, and it worked really well. So it's not about being regimented. It's about being kind to yourself and spacing things out in a way that works for your family. And anyway, so that's our schedule, and it's worked really well for us. And generally, we do less than 2 hours of school a day. We just don't need to do more than that, and my kids are young enough that they get burned out. But it is something we do that keeps them entertained. They enjoy doing it. They like sitting next to me and having that alone time with me or sitting on my lap, and it makes me feel like I'm on top of things. And anyway, so that's that video, and we'll see if we can get it posted. It's kind of long.